everyone, this is Lottie from Cancer is a Lifestyle. Happy New Year, happy 2019. This is a t-shirt that my girlfriend made for me. It is in my teal colors, which is by what I mean by that, this is my Cancer color. I have ovarian cancer, which is teal. Hope you can see it. It is actually a cross. Looks very beautiful. When I drive in a car with it, these beads, I'm telling you, it's like a display of like disco lights going on in the sunlight. So they look gorgeous. Today I wanted to talk about handling your reoccurrences. Now, hopefully you've gone through cancer one time and that's all that you have. You don't go through it again. I know that there are many anxiety fears for people who have gone through cancer, and they're always worried that the cancer is coming back. Now, I have told you I am a 4-time cancer survivor. I have a reoccurring cancer, so for me, reoccurrences just happen to be part of life. So, how am I handling that? How do you handle that? Well, the first time I will tell you was back in 2007, and if you know my story, you know that I went through beautiful 4.5 years of remission. It was wonderful. I had a great time. I went on this living life to the fullest, living out my bucket list, reconnecting with people. I had a wonderful 4.5 years. I had a thirst for life then after my cancer that I've never had before in my life. And I remember 2011 came around, and at that time, and actually for the first 10 years, I've actually had my PET scan and CT scans or anything, excuse me, every 3 months. So I would go back every 3 months regularly to have all my tests done and everything, lab work and everything. Right now, since last year, I am on every 6 months. This is the first time in 11.5 years that this has happened. Excuse me, I apologize. My throat is dry and I need some coffee. Anyway, I didn't even finish my coffee today. But back in 2007, I spent 4.5 years of being in remission, and at the end of 2011, my cancer came back. Now, I am like a lot of people when I went through cancer the first time, and even though like I said, that first time I don't think that anything really sunk into my head as to what was going on or what cancer was or anything. I really started learning about cancer when it came back the second time in 2011. I think that's when I really took hold of my life, and in regards to my cancer. And so when it came back, I can tell you distinctly that when she told me that my cancer was back, I burst out crying. I don't think I've ever done that before. And you know what? My reaction shocked everybody in the room, the nurses, my oncologist and all, because I've always been a very positive and happy-go-lucky person. I was living life. I was very, very happy. I was high on life in my remission. So my reaction when she told me that, and I burst out crying, I really had a hard time that year dealing with my cancer reoccurrence. And I think that's because, and I don't want to scare anybody, but because nobody wants to think about death. We don't want to think about death. And we are actually encouraged to be thinking always positive. But I believe that there comes a time in everyone's life where they have to think about the death. And I think we do think about it. But we come across as morbid and people don't want to hear it. But I believe you have to. You have to process that idea that you might die, and then what? So you have to go through this. And I was actually going through it then. And let me tell you, I think I went on a quest online to find another ovarian cancer person that was alive, that she was healed. And I'm telling you, I just could not find. And I think the realization, I had to learn to accept, and it isn't even the fact that you may die, it's about accepting your cancer diagnosis, what you're going through. You need to accept it, process it, that, you know what, the what if. So that was the year that I did that, and I actually had a lot of anxiety over it. I remember I was just, um, in a way, I'm almost glad that the chemo I was taking, I had to be at home away from people because it affected my immune system. I had to go for a booster the next day because, I was just, I had to stay away from people and their germs. So, because I don't think I was a nice person to be around with then. And I started blogging, and writing about my cancer. If you want to read on some of my blogs, it's all in the comment section there if you want to look, and in the description. And I started writing, and it became very therapeutic for me. So I think that one of the things that people need to learn to do, if you're going through your cancer and all, you need to find an outlet for your anxiety. I found it in two ways. One, I started writing, and I started recording almost like a diary, because I thought, actually, I'm going to die from this thing, and I want to leave something behind for my children. I want them to read my diary, my blog, and somehow or other, that became my therapy. As I started writing, I was releasing all my emotion, all my feelings and things I was going through, my anger, my depression, and all the things that you have to release it. You cannot, this ideal of being positive, that's fine and dandy, but you need to release all your emotions. And there's going to be times where you're just a mess, and you're going to cry, and you need to cry, or you need to be angry, you need to thrash things around. So, do not be afraid to show your emotion and to deal with it. You cannot be positive 100 times a day, you just can't. You have to deal with it. So that was the year that really changed my outlook on reoccurrences, and I dealt with it. And in another way that I actually ended up releasing some of my anxiety over the recurrences, I started crocheting. And when I would go to my tests and I would crochet, and it would take my mind off the waiting and the results, and oh my gosh. And so I just, that's what I did. I wrote and I crocheted, and I think it's very important for people to find an outlet to help them deal with their anxiety for the reoccurrences that happen. So, where am I at now? Well, here I am, almost 12 years. In next May, it will be 12 years with cancer. And now my anxiety over the reoccurrences is in a different place than where I was back the first time. So you have to remember that. So now especially, it's kind of funny that I'm doing one now, is because I've been thinking a lot about it, because here's January, and I have quite a bit of doctor appointments that I have to do, and which, I have to go again for my CT scan and my oncologist visits and my lab work, and and all this other stuff, and so I have to deal with it. So how do I deal with the reoccurrences? Well, I don't have the same anxiety. Like I said, I have accepted my condition. I have accepted my cancer. I have dealt with the fact that I could die from this, and I may die from this, but I know I am going to die one day. And it might be from this or from something else, but I have, and I believe that, again, I'm going to stress this, that we all have to go through this, and it's perfectly normal. And I can, and I'm straying off course again, but excuse me, I am just thirsty. I can almost tell when someone is going through what I call the, I may die syndrome. And I just had a girlfriend who had her breast cancer returned, and all she could talk about is her mom just passed away a few months earlier, and all she's talking about is death. That she's not going to make it this time. That she is, I always knew I was going to die young. And it's almost kind of morbid. But I don't say anything back, because I know that she needs to bring it out. I know that she needs to face it. She needs to think about it. She needs to talk about it. And she kind of needs to accept the fate, accept her illness. So that's just another way that, like I said, I can always tell when somebody is going through that stage. So how do I deal with my reoccurrences now? Well, my reoccurrences now means something different. So here I am, just a couple weeks away from going to my scans all over again, and my worries are in a completely different direction. Like I said, I've had reoccurrences so many times. It's almost like something. It's just like a familiar to me to have chemo. It's nothing out of the ordinary. But I do have some things that I really worry about. Um, One, I worry about the finances. I worry about, do I have enough money set aside for I may be off work, or I have to take off work. Each time that I've had a reoccurrence, I've had to do a different. It has never been the same. So either I've been off completely on FMLA and a disability for my work for like the 6 months or the whatever, completely 100%, or I've worked part-time, or I've worked, or I would be just off on days that for the next couple of days when I'd be taking treatment. I've done different things because no scenario has ever been the same. This last time I had surgery again, and I also had oh my goodness, I can't think of what that was. Oh yeah, hernia. I had a beginning of a hernia from all the surgeries, so they had to fix that too, and also take a surgery. They took out my tumor grew into a size of a ball, of an egg actually. So they did all that, and then they added radiation. So that also changed my treatment. So my my worry is with the financial. Now I have disability from work. I have different programs that I have. At that time I had AFLAC. Now I have other critical care insurance, also additional one that I prepare for. So yes, there are things that I have. I have disability, but by the time you get the paperwork done, and by the time any of that is in order and you actually get your money for the time that you have been off, it takes weeks. It's just the way it is. I don't know how else to do it. Trust me, I have been through this 11 and a half years, 4 times. I don't know what's the easy way to go through this bureaucratic insurance, disability, FMLA. I don't know how to go through it the easy way. It is just a pain, period. You have to remember one thing, that these companies have one goal, and that is to bring you back to work as soon as possible. And they will make it, I believe, now I don't care if I offend anybody that works in that industry, I am sorry, I'm living it. And I believe that their main goal is to make your life as difficult as possible so you go back to work right away. And I will tell you, each time I have gone back to work earlier than what I should have. But last time I saved up enough money for a month ahead, that was not enough. So that is my first anxiety every time I have to go through testing and all, is do I have enough money saved aside for that time that I'm going through this red tape and I'm going through this. Bills have to be paid, okay? So that is my anxiety level. I know what it takes and how much money it takes for me to go through this. So that is my first anxiety. I worry about that. My second one, I actually am, we all have someone in our family who is very traumatic and who is very emotional. They're dramatic. Everything is, you hate telling them anything that happens in the family because it's just going to be, they're going to melt. They're going to have a meltdown. They're going to react, and they might be in the ER. I mean, you're going through this. This is your disease. This is your I loved it how my sister-in-law once put it. You end up having to comfort them instead of you being comforted, and so that is my second thing that I worry about. That okay, now I gotta tell this person, and they're gonna totally fall apart, like they're actually going through it, and even though it's me that's going through it. So instead of my being comforted and offered support, I have to flip it and be the comforter. So I just hate having to do that. I hate having to sit down with certain people and having to have that conversation that, okay, this is what's happening. Because sometimes I feel, and this is, again, I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about my own anxieties. I find that um, I should be the one that should be comforted or given that support. And I know that sounds terrible, but uh, you know, if you've gone through cancer, there's so much anxiety. Even though I may have found peace with my cancer, I still have different anxiety levels for other issues, like the money, like like my other list down here. Uh, what is my body going to be like after the treatment? You know, that's another thing that I worry about. Is my body going to, I know the poisons that are going in to kill this poison, and you need the poison to kill the poison to be just as strong as the cancer, even stronger to kill it. But I also know that it has side effects on your body that are long lasting. And I can see a decrease in myself because of all the treatments I've had. I can see a decrease in my body. I'm fighting fatigue all the time. I am really worn out. And even though I think one of the biggest misconceptions with me is that for some reason, and I'm not being vain, please do not take that I mean, but I've always had people tell me that I don't look like I have cancer. Well, I know I don't look, I don't, I guess I don't look like a victim, like a cancer patient, but I'm still going through it. I still have difficulties. I still have problems, even though I may still look, I may not look frail. So, I have other anxieties that in my mind, are clicking away. And when I hear the news, okay, I got to go through this again. And then to have to worry about that person where I have to be comforting them is really kind of almost, I feel like it's a little selfish. And I know that sounds terrible. I don't mean it to be terrible. But I have my own anxieties, and the fact that I have to be comforting others instead of the other way around, that's something I worry about. So I have my money that I worry about, and then I gotta tell this person, hey, I gotta have that conversation. I wish I could avoid it, or just there's ways that I've thought about. I've even thought about it this time that I'm just, next time it happens, I'm just gonna not say anything. I'm just going to tell my children and go about my life like I always do. But then, everybody's always like, oh, you're not going to tell anybody? You're not going to tell your family? Well, in my family, and I think because I have a reoccurrence, it happened 4 times already. I think this is something that should be almost given. And I don't think that I should be making these announcements over and over again. And I find, especially with my family, and I find with co-workers and friends, it's like people forget that you had cancer. So when you say you have cancer, and they're like, oh my God, you have cancer. And I say, yeah, well, I had it 4 times already. You had it 4 times already? And I'm like, where have you been? We've been through this, I've been working with you the whole time. Like, people really forget that you went through something. So, I just hate telling people about my cancer over again. This is given. This is something that they should have expect. And, yeah, so that's my anxiety there. And my future plans. Like I said, I worry about, am I going to be able to continue working? Am I going, for how long? This last time, it really wore me out. This last time, I seriously doubted if I could go on again. I really thought of, this radiation just really affected my bones and affected my joints. And I thought it was hurting. I was hurting. I was limping. I had a hard time. I going upstairs. I go 1 step at a time. Do you know that? I am 54 years old. I'll be 54 in a few days. I am like, I walk up the stairs one step at a time. I don't have that. And, you know, or like bending, kneeling. I can't do that. I can't do squats. My joints, my knees, my ankles, oh my gosh. My hip now from the radiation where they, where they gave me in my pelvis, oh my gosh. So when afterwards I was really suffering and I thought, oh, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know if I can work. So I worry that these are my three anxieties that I have every time I think about a reoccurrence. Can I continue working? How much longer? If I have it comes back for the fifth time, look what it did in the last time. How much worse is my body going to be afterwards? I really had to get myself on a vitamin regimen this last time to get myself into that, where the vitamins help me with my joint and my mobility. So these are just what I worry about when it comes to reoccurrences. Now, I know that it's different for everyone, and not many people have recurrences over and over again like I do. I know there are some that have a cancer at stage 4, and then they're dealing with treatment all the time. They're dealing with medications and all that. But the majority of the people, when they go through cancer once, it's their one time. And I know that's something that's on their mind all the time. Now, I think, and I did this myself for 4.5 years when I went through it the first time. I didn't want to think about nothing about cancer. I didn't want to think, I thought I was over and done with, and I, swept it under the rug. I am healed. I am, I kicked cancer's butt. It's just, it's silly when I think about it now because I've had it 4 more times since then. But it's just quite normal. That's why I don't find it strange that the vloggers that we have on YouTube, that once they're done with treatment, they're gone and they don't want to talk about their cancer. They don't want to look at their cancer. And a lot of them, when I go on their pages, I see that they haven't come back or posted anything in months and months and months, because I know that they want to just forget about that horrible time, which is all understandable. It's very understandable. But being anxious about your reoccurrence, especially the first time after you were in remission and you worry about it coming back again, that's very normal, and it's something that we have to process. But in the meantime, don't forget to live your life and not sit there and be lock yourself away and from people and or from anything like that. Live your life and share your experience with others. Trust me, whatever we have gone through in life, somebody else is going through it again right now, and maybe they need to feel like they're normal. And my experience with radiation the last time, I found that there are a lot of women that are looking for other women like themselves that are going through that. They don't feel normal. They feel like this is something that is strange to them and all. So I really encourage the rest of you that I know that reoccurrences are always there at the back of our minds all the time. This is something we cannot avoid. And I know that we all have different anxieties and worries about them, but I think we should talk about them, and I think we should bring it to others, because there's other people that really need us, because we have something they don't, and that's called experience. So thank you again so much for watching. Oh, wait a minute. Oh my goodness, this is not going to be a good year about my memory, because I'm supposed to be posting some a little trivia at the end of every episode, and so far I've done like 3 or 4, and I have forgotten each time. Hello. What can I tell you about myself that is private? Well, today we're talking about cancer, so I'm going to tell you something very private about myself, about the cancer. So I don't know if I mentioned this many times before, but I did not know anything about cancer or anything. I didn't even know what a CA-125 was. And here I went through cancer, and until it came back again when I was in 2011. I could not even tell you. I went on a web page for cancer patients, and I was reading stories from other people that were posting, and they were like, they knew everything about their cancer. Like, they knew how many, what their CA-125 was, and I'm like, what the heck is a CA-125? Like, here I went through cancer treatment and everything, and because, you know what, I think I was like a lot of people. I didn't want to deal with it. I just wanted to get it done over, do what you got to do, and move on, because I just want to shake this cancer thing off. And I'm going to tell you one thing that I said, that I laugh about this all the time, and this is a little trivia tidbit. I was always very skinny, and I know you find that very hard to believe, but I'm petite. Believe it or not, I am not even 5'2". I'm like 5'1 3/4", and I had 4 children, and out of the 4, I never gained any weight. With the pregnancies, I always came back and put on. I was just very thin, and I think I weighed like 104 pounds or something. I was always very thin, and I gained like 80 pounds with my first cancer, and I gained it. And when I was going through my really bad rough time with the different infections and fevers, and I had like all these things going on to me. Oh my gosh, I can't even think about all the things that happened to me during my first cancer. I had so many issues, fistulas and colostomy, and oh my gosh, horrible. I had an abscess, and I ended up losing a lot of weight. I gained the 80, and then I lost it, and I could not maintain, and I was like a little under 100 pounds. And I remember this so well because Tammy Faye Baker died from cancer, and she weighed 65 pounds. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I am losing weight like this, and I'm under 100 pounds right now, and I need to gain weight. And I remember saying this in the hospital bed. I was telling God that, God, I, God, I need to gain some weight, because oh my gosh, I don't want to be like Tammy Faye Baker, and I'm gonna die. I need to gain some weight. So, and if I gain some weight, Lord, I am not gonna complain. I'm gonna be grateful that I gained some weight. Well, I gained 80 pounds, and I have been, and it's actually more than 80 pounds now. It's more like I gained another additional 20 and another 5, and I laugh at myself because in the last 11 and a half years, I have not been able to lose any weight at all. And every time I start complaining about how fat I am and all, I think back to that promise I made to God. I was like, God, you got to help me gain some weight, because, and when I do, I'm not going to complain about being fat. I have been complaining about being fat for 11 and a half years. So there you go. There's something personal about me that I'm sharing with all of you. So yes, I used to be very thin, very small. Hard to believe, right? And I wasn't always like this. So, but that's another vlog, accepting how you look. So again, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button. Smash the thumbs up if you like it. Share, comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day, everyone.